The battlefield was silent now. Smoke moved slowly in the red sky. Broken machines and dead soldiers covered the land. The ground was black, burned from the last attack. Nothing moved, except one man. His name was Mason, a soldier from Earth. He was lying on his back, helmet cracked, suit damaged. A soft beep came from his helmet. Biofilter. 1% remaining. His eyes opened. He gasped for air. Pain shot through his chest. His leg was bleeding. His rifle was gone. He sat up slowly and looked around. There were no sounds, no voices, no friends. Only broken metal, blood, and silence. He remembered the mission, a last stand against the alien forces. But something went wrong. A surprise attack. An explosion. Then, darkness now. He was the only one left. He touched the side of his helmet. The oxygen was almost gone. Biofilter, 0.9%. He had minutes to live. Then he saw it. Something moved about 10 feet away. He crawled forward, careful and slow. Behind, a broken alien drone, he saw the shape of a body, large, armored, and not human. It was an alien warrior. Its chest was rising and falling slowly. It was still alive. Mason's hand reached for the small sidearm on his belt. He aimed at the creature's head. One shot would be enough. This alien species, called the Varnock, had killed thousands. Earth had been at war with them for years. There was no peace, no mercy. His finger touched the trigger. But then, he stopped. He looked at the alien's face. It was young, bleeding. Its helmet was off. Its skin was dark green with strange blue veins. Its eyes were half open. They did not show anger. They showed fear. Mason hesitated. "Why aren't you killing me?" he whispered. The alien didn't answer. Of course, it didn't speak his language. But still, there was something in its eyes. A feeling. A question. Mason looked around again. No other humans. No enemies. No sounds. He thought, even if I kill it, what then? I'll die in 5 minutes anyway. His hand slowly lowered the gun. The alien blinked once. It saw him, but it didn't move. It didn't fight. "You're hurt," Mason said quietly. "Me too." He crawled closer. The air was getting thinner. Biofilter, 0.7%. He opened a small compartment in his suit and pulled out a mini oxygen canister. Just one left. Enough for one person for maybe 10 minutes. He looked at the alien again. It was breathing fast. Its chest armor was broken. Green blood leaked onto the ground. Mason stared at the canister. Then back at the alien. His heart beat faster. He knew what he was about to do was crazy. But something in his mind, maybe in his soul, told him, don't let him die. He pressed a button on his helmet. The face shield opened slightly. He took a deep breath and pulled the oxygen line out. Then he leaned forward and gently pushed the line toward the alien's face. The alien flinched. Confused, Mason moved slow. No sudden actions. The alien finally understood. It opened its mouth slightly, and Mason gave him the oxygen. They shared it. "We're both going to die out here," Mason said. "But maybe not today." Biofilter, 0.5%. The air was thin now. Mason was sweating. His head felt heavy. He leaned back, weak, but still alive. The alien looked at him with wide eyes. Now it reached out not to attack, but to touch his arm. Slowly, gently, for a second. Two enemies became something else. Survivors. Mason tried to speak again, but his voice was fading. "No more fighting. Not today," he whispered. He looked at the sky. The red clouds moved slowly, like a dying fire. His vision blurred, but he was not afraid. The alien sat beside him now, holding the oxygen line, watching him carefully. In silence, they waited. Biofilter 0.3%. The end was near. But for the first time in the whole war, Mason didn't feel alone. He closed his eyes and smiled. Asterisk. Mason woke up to the sound of soft breathing, not his own. His head was resting on a piece of broken metal. The heat of the alien sun pressed against his skin. His mouth was dry. His lips cracked. Biofilter 0.2%. The warning echoed again in his helmet, but he didn't move. Not yet. He felt something. Warm, close. He turned his head slowly. The alien was sitting beside him, still alive and holding the oxygen tube to Mason's helmet. Mason blinked. The alien had given the oxygen back. The same oxygen Mason had shared first. That small act, simple but powerful, said more than words ever could. This creature had returned the kindness, not as an enemy, as something else. Flashback a week earlier. Mason stood in a dark ship hallway. Lights flickered overhead. His commander barked orders through the radio. No mercy, soldiers. These creatures do not surrender. If you see one breathing, you finish it. Understood. Yes, sir. Mason replied, gripping his rifle tighter. They had landed on planet Varix only 12 hours earlier. The Varnock forces were strong, aggressive, and silent. Every mission had been brutal. Every fight, deadly. The war had lasted 5 years, and in all that time, not a single alien had ever surrendered. Back to present now, one of them had saved him. The alien noticed Mason waking and slowly lowered the oxygen line. Their eyes met. Again, no words, just silence. But it wasn't empty. It was full of something new. Understanding, the alien moved slowly. Not in fear, but with caution. It reached into its chest armor and pulled out a small device. It tapped the screen. A 3D hologram blinked to life, showing a map. A red blinking dot appeared in the corner. Mason leaned forward. He didn't understand the symbols, but he understood the meaning. Safe zone, he said softly. The alien nodded once. The map showed the path through broken ruins and deep valleys. Far, but maybe close enough. Mason checked his helmet. Biofilter 0.1%. He sighed. Then something new happened. The alien stood up, weak but determined. It reached behind its back and pulled out a small metal cylinder. It clicked the top. A hiss of air escaped oxygen, its own reserve. It handed the canister to Mason. Mason stared. You'll die without it, he said. The alien made a strange sound. Low, soft, like a whisper made of stone and breath. Then it placed the canister gently on the ground between them and pointed toward the map again. Go live. Mason felt something heavy in his chest. Why are you helping me? The alien didn't answer with words. Instead, it touched its own chest with a clenched fist, then touched Mason's chest, gently, 2 taps. Like a rhythm. A code. Mason repeated it, not knowing why. The alien nodded suddenly. A sharp sound cracked through the air. Boom. The ground shook. Dust flew upward. Broken drone in the distance was moving again. It wasn't dead, and it wasn't friendly. Red lights blinked from its sensors. Guns charged with power. Mason grabbed the canister. The alien pulled him up by the arm. No more silence now, just action. They ran. Together across the sharp rocks and burnt earth. The drone followed, firing short bursts. A shot missed Mason's leg by inches. The alien turned and fired its energy weapon. The shot hit the drone's shoulder. Sparks flew. Mason turned and shot twice with his pistol. One bullet struck the drone's eye. The machine collapsed for good this time. Both collapsed behind a rock. Breathing hard, Mason looked at the alien. Guess we're a team now. The alien didn't smile, but its eyes showed something. Close to it, Mason opened the oxygen canister and took a short breath. Then, he passed it to the alien without speaking. They took turns, slowly, carefully. Survival had no language. But it had rhythm now. As they rested, Mason looked up at the red sky. I was told you don't feel, that you don't forgive, that you don't care. He looked back at the alien, but maybe they were wrong. The alien didn't reply, but this time it placed its hand on Mason's shoulder, then pointed to the horizon, the map's direction, the safe zone, the way forward. One human, one alien. Two survivors who should have killed each other, but chose something else. Trust. The sky was darker now. Red had turned to purple. Clouds rolled across the dead planet like smoke on old ashes. Mason and the alien walked side by side. But neither truly knew where they were. The land around them was silent, too silent. No birds. No insects. No wind. Only the sound of two beings breathing from the same oxygen tank. In turns, one breath for Mason, one for the alien. Over and over, like a heartbeat shared between strangers. Each step was harder than the last. Mason's leg burned. The bandage he made from his uniform was soaked with blood. The alien limped too. Green blood still dripping from under its cracked armor. Still, they moved forward, slow, careful. Together, in Mason's head, memories started to echo. The last thing his team said before they died, no one comes back from Virex. He had believed that until now. After one long hill, they stopped to rest beside a fallen tower. It looked like an old Varnak structure, smooth black stone, shaped like a rib. Cage, bones of a dead world. Mason sat against the stone. His breath was shallow. Biofilter, 0.0%. The helmet finally said, "Empty." He took it off. The air hit his skin like fire. Dry and full of ash. He coughed, hard, eyes watering. The alien quickly pressed the oxygen nozzle into his hand. Mason took a long breath. Life returned. He passed it back. They didn't speak, but something passed between them. Quiet message. I'll keep you alive. If you keep me alive after some time. The alien pulled out a small round device and pressed it to the ground. A light spread from it, scanning the area. Suddenly, soft blue glow formed in the air. A hologram. It showed a signal coming from the east. Faint. But there, Mason squinted. He didn't recognize the frequency. What is that? He asked, mostly to himself. The alien placed its hand over the glowing dot, looked at Mason, and then pointed to the sky. A rescue signal. Or a trap. They decided to follow it. The land changed as they walked. It became strange, twisted metal growing from the ground like trees. A field of broken machines, half buried and dead. Mason recognized one. It was a human DROPSHIP, crashed, burned. He rushed to it, hope rising. Maybe someone was inside, but what he saw broke him. Bodis, his team. Their armor burned black. Their faces gone, all except one. Sergeant Hale, still strapped to the pilot seat, eyes open, dead. Mason froze. His knees hit the ground. He felt like a hole opened in his chest. They left me, he whispered. They left me behind. The alien stood behind him in silence. No sound, no breath, no judgment, only presence. Then the alien walked forward and did something Mason did not expect. It reached up and closed. Hale's eyes, slowly, gently, a gesture of respect, of honor. Mason swallowed the pain and stood again. He looked at the alien, no longer as a stranger. You don't even know me, Mason said. So why help me? The alien placed 2 fingers on its own heart, then pointed to Mason, same rhythm as before. Same pain, same path. Mason nodded slowly. They were breathing together now, but also feeling together suddenly. The air shifted. A deep hum filled the space. From above, a shape appeared, a drone ship, not Varnak. Not human, something else. It hovered, silent and black. Shaped like a disc with strange markings glowing red. It didn't attack. It scanned them. Mason raised his pistol. But the alien grabbed his wrist and shook its head. Don't, Mason. Guessed the ship made a sharp sound, a mechanical chirp. Then it flew away. Gone. Mason stared at the sky. What the hell was that? The alien looked worried now. For the first time since Mason met him, that fear was real. And whatever that ship was, it had recognized them both. Not as enemies, but maybe as targets. Mason checked the oxygen canister. Less than 10% left. Not enough to reach the signal point. He looked at the alien. We're not going to make it, are we? The alien didn't answer. Just looked at the stars, blinking through the clouds. Then back at Mason and handed him the rest of the oxygen, all of it. No, Mason said firmly, pushing it back. Not without you. We breathe together, or not at all. And so they walked. One breath, one step, one purpose. Not enemies, not allies. Something else, something new. Asterisk, the safe zone. Feel safe? Not yet. Mason stood at the edge of a canyon, breathing carefully through the last drops of oxygen. The alien beside him stared ahead, silent and tense. Below them, the valley glowed with blue light. Buildings half sunken into the ground. Dome-shaped towers. Ancient technology still humming with power. A strange symbol blinked on the center structure, the same symbol they saw on the map they had found. The signal, but something felt wrong. Too quiet, too clean, no smoke. No broken machines, no bodies, just empty ground. Waiting. Mason looked at the alien. Why does it feel like we're walking into a trap? The alien didn't answer. It just stepped forward, slowly. Together, they began to descend into the blue-lit valley. As they walked between the silent towers, Mason looked around. No signs of war. No signs of life either. The buildings were Varnak design, but different, newer, smoother. Less like war bases. More like labs. Then he saw it, a metal platform ahead. Blinking green. A panel lit up as they stepped near. A voice spoke. Not in Varnak. Not in English. Something else. Soft. Robotic. Cold. Mason froze. That's not your language, is it? He asked the alien. The alien shook its head. Mason felt a chill in his chest. Then who built this place? The platform opened with a hiss. Stairs led down into the earth. The alien pointed. Mason sighed. Every part of his mind said, don't go down there. But his feet moved anyway. He followed. Underground, the air was cooler. The walls pulsed with slow blue light. Symbols moved across glass panels. Machines hummed softly in the dark. They reached a round chamber. In the center, a pod. Mason stepped closer. Inside the pod, floating in thick liquid, was another human. His breath caught. What the hell? The man inside was unconscious, pale, connected to wires and tubes. He looked like Mason, too. Much like him, same uniform, same rank badge, even the same scar above the eyebrow. This can't be real. Mason stepped back, heart pounding. Was this a clone? A dream? A trick? The alien stepped forward and scanned the pod with its device. Data appeared in mid-air. Brain patterns. DNA code. Heartbeat. The alien looked at Mason, then shook its head slowly. Whatever this was, it wasn't friendly. Suddenly, the room went red. Alarms echoed. Steel doors slammed shut behind them. Gas hissed from vents in the walls. Mason coughed hard. His oxygen canister beeped its final warning. Oxygen depleted. The alien grabbed Mason, pulled him close, and pressed a small tube to his mouth, a backup air shot. Enough for seconds. They had walked into a trap, and now it was closing. The walls began to shift. Panels opened. Machines extended metal arms. Syringes, scanners, restraints, not for war. For study. Mason's eyes went wide. They were never saving us, he whispered. They were watching us. The alien roared, the first sound it had made since they met. A deep, shaking cry that made the whole room tremble. It pulled out its weapon and shot one of the machines. Sparks flew. Mason snapped out of shock. He smashed a control panel with his elbow. The lights flickered. The pod began to drain. The human inside started to wake up. No, Mason said, stepping forward. We're not the same. I'm real. You're a... What are you? The man inside opened his eyes. Cold, empty, not Mason, something else. Prototype 17. Unit online, the voice said from the walls. Subject Mason Reed... Matched. Suddenly, Mason understood. They copied me. They planned this. This whole journey was a test. The alien pulled Mason back. The machines moved faster now, trying to capture them. No more time. Mason pointed at a glowing panel near the far door. That's the exit. The alien nodded, blasted it open, and they ran. Gas chased them. Red lights followed like blood and water. They climbed up, back toward the surface. Mason's lungs burned. The alien shoved him up first, then pulled itself out just as the door slammed shut behind them. Above ground, they collapse. Coughing, the stars blinked above like quiet witnesses. Mason stared at the sky. This wasn't a rescue zone. It was a lab. He turned to the alien. They used me, and they used you. The alien looked back. Then it touched its chest, and Mason's single quotes. One tap. No rhythm this time, just one. We are not the same anymore. Mason stood in front of a mirror, but the man looking back wasn't him, not exactly. The reflection moved slower. Its eyes were colder. Its mouth didn't quite match his breathing. He reached out to touch the glass. The mirror didn't reflect his hand because it wasn't a mirror, it was a screen, and the man inside was watching him. He blinked, the screen turned off. Darkness surrounded him again. Hours had passed since the lab escape. Now Mason and the alien sat under the remains of a stone arch. A dead temple, half buried in the sand. They hadn't spoken in a long time. They couldn't, anyway. But Mason could feel it. Something had changed. The trap. The clone. The gas. The voice calling him Prototype 17. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a piece on someone else's game board. The alien finally stood. It pressed its hand to a flat piece of rock. A soft chime echoed. The ground opened. Mason stood up quickly, limping forward. You knew about this? The alien didn't look at him. Just walked down the steps into the hidden chamber. Mason followed. Inside, lights flickered on, but these were not alien lights. These were human. The room was round, quiet, and full of Earth-tech desks, screens, datapads, all coated in dust. One wall displayed a glowing emblem. Project AEGIS Human Xenocrisis Simulation. Unit. Mason's mouth went dry. This isn't just a war, he whispered. It's an experiment. The alien pulled a file from a console and projected it into the air. Mason stepped closer. He saw his name. His full file. Missions, blood type, childhood, fears, psychological reports. Then something else. Genetic recombination approved. Subject. Read. Mason's status. Prime candidate purpose. Cross-species empathy trial. Phase 3. He took a step back. They used me. He turned to the alien, his voice shaking. This war was never really about planets, was it? The alien finally looked at him, long and deep. Then, slowly, it reached up and removed its chest plate. There, under the armor, was something Mason did not expect. A human military implant. What the hell? The alien pressed a small switch. On the device, a hologram of Earth's top general appeared. Cold eyes, sharp voice. If you're watching this, the general said. Then Subject 17 and Varnik Selnine have survived longer than expected. Good. That means the test worked. Mason clenched his fists. This whole thing, you and me, they set it up. The general's message continued. Humanity will not survive future wars unless we learn how to trust outsiders. This was the only way to simulate real cooperation. Shared danger, shared pain. You weren't chosen because you were the best. Read, you were chosen because you were broken. And broken people connect better. The message ended. Silence returned. Mason stood frozen. His memories of war. His friends dying. All the pain. Was it all a lie? He turned toward the alien. So, what are we? Just test subjects. The alien stared back, then touched its own implant. A soft blue light blinked. It powered down forever. A choice, then it reached forward and held out its hand to Mason. A real gesture. No programming, no orders, just one soul. To another. Mason stared at the hand for a long time, then took it. Maybe we were created to be pawns, but we don't have to stay that way. Suddenly, the base shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. From above, a strange light flashed. Not red dot, not blue dot, white, blinding, silent. Something was landing. Mason grabbed a data core from the terminal. If we don't make it, he said, someone has to know what really happened here. The alien nodded, already raising its weapon. Whatever was coming, it wasn't here to save them. And now, they weren't part of the test. They were the threat asterisk. There was no sound in space, but inside the escape bay. Mason could hear everything, his own heartbeat, the soft hum of power running low, and the distant breathing of the alien. Sitting across from him, still, silent, watching, between them stood a single object, a life support pod. Only one. The ship above had landed hours ago. Not military, not rescue, something else. It didn't attack. It didn't speak. It just hovered above the ruins. Like a vulture waiting for something to die. Mason and the alien had gone underground again. Deep into an old bunker, Earth-built. Probably abandoned during the early years of the war. They found supplies, power, data, and that one life pod. Mason rubbed his eyes, then looked at the display. Oxygen level, 6%. Pod capacity, 1. Just one of them could make it out alive. He stood, restless, pacing slowly. There has to be another way, he muttered. Some way to share it. Maybe bypass the systems. The alien shook its head once. Calm, Sarant. Mason sat again, frustrated. Why is it always like this? He said quietly. War. Sacrifice. One survives, the other doesn't. The alien looked up at him and tapped its fingers softly. 1, 2, 1. The rhythm they had shared. But this time, it felt like goodbye. Mason stood again, angry now. No, don't do that. He grabbed the side of the pod. You think you're the one who should die? After all this? No, you saved me. More than once, you carried me. You gave me oxygen. You gave me ... trust. I shook his head. I won't let you give me your life too. The alien walked over, opened the pod hatch slowly, then stepped back, offering it to him. Mason looked at the open chamber, clean, ready, waiting, but it felt like a coffin. Suddenly, the bunker lights flickered. A sound echoed through the halls. Not machines, not wind, footsteps, heavy. Metallic, someone or something was coming. Fast, Mason turned to the alien. They found us. The alien didn't move. It just stared at him, calm. Resolved, it placed one hand on Mason's chest, then pointed to the pod. One breath, one life. Mason's throat tightened. I won't leave you. We started this together. We finish it together. The alien didn't smile, but it placed something into Mason's hand. The data core, everything they had found. Every truth. Every secret. Let the galaxy see it, Mason whispered. Then Mason made his decision. He closed the pod door. From the outside, he activated the timer. 3 minutes. The system beeped. Final launch sequence initiated. He turned to the alien. You're not just part of the story. You are the story. The alien stepped forward fast, trying to stop him, but Mason pulled his sidearm. Don't, please. Let me choose. Just once. My choice. The alien paused, eyes wide, not with anger, with sorrow, but also respect. A soft alarm echoed down. The hall that the enemy was close now. No time left. The alien slowly stepped inside the pod, but before it closed, it reached out one last time and touched Mason's forehead with 2 fingers. Gesture of peace. Then the hatch-sealed lights turned blue. The pod launched upward with a roar. A flash of white light gone. Mason turned back to the hallway. He took a breath. No oxygen left. No weapons that would matter. But he had time. Just a little. Enough to slow them down. Enough to give the alien a chance. As the footsteps grew louder, Mason stood tall. Not as a test subject. Not as a soldier. As a man who gave everything for someone he didn't even know. The stars looked different now. Colder. Quieter. The alien sat inside the pod, knees pulled close, arms around its chest. The small glass window showed nothing but endless black and silver specks, space stretching forever. But in the silence, the alien didn't feel peace, it felt loss. Mason was gone, left behind by choice. The alien had watched it happen. The human had smiled. Even with no oxygen left. Even with enemies coming. And then he closed the door. Chose death to give life. The pod systems buzzed softly. Still. 3 hours until pickup. 3 hours alone with memories. The alien turned its head and looked at the small metal object in its hand. The data core. Mason had shoved it into the alien's hand at the last moment. Inside it was everything. All the logs, the tests, the betrayal, the truth. Proof that the war had been a lie. The alien tapped the display. Mason's face appeared in a recorded message. Broken helmet. Bloody lip. Tired eyes. If you're seeing this, I didn't make it. But that's okay. I wasn't meant to last forever. The alien listened closely. It played the message again. Then again, each word held weight. Maybe they made us enemies. Maybe they made us weapons. But out there, someone needs to know we were more than that. We were brothers. Tears didn't fall from Varnak eyes. But the feeling was the same. A tight ache in the chest, an emptiness that had shape. A pain that moved like breath. The alien reached into its armor and removed something. A small piece of Mason's uniform, burnt, dirty, still holding the earth patch. The alien placed it next to its own badge, a Varnak warrior sigil, and tied them together. 2 symbols, 2 species, 1 story. Suddenly, the pod shook gently. Sensors beeped. Something was coming. A ship rescue finally, as the hatch opened, light spilled inside, not red, not blue, white. Neutral. A clean-suit human officer stepped into view, holding a scanner. Single life form detected. Alien. He looked surprised, then saw the Earth symbol stitched beside the Varnock badge. What is this? The alien didn't speak. It held up the data core and let it play. Mason's voice echoed into the quiet. Cabin, his final message. This wasn't just survival. It was proof. Proof that trust is possible, not programmed. Forced. Chosen. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. But I gave him my last breath. And he gave me his life. Silence followed. The human officer looked shaken. Then he whispered something no one expected. Take it to Earth. Days passed. The alien now stood on a stage. Not a war camp, not a battlefield, but a peace. Hall screens showed Mason's face. Crowds watched in silence. Leaders from both sides sat. Shoulder to shoulder, the alien didn't speak much, but it placed the two symbols, Earth and Varnock, on a single flag, folded it and left it on an empty chair marked Captain Mason Reed. He gave his last breath to someone he didn't know, so the galaxy could breathe together. And far above, in orbit, a satellite activated broadcasting Mason's story across every channel, every world, every race, so no one would forget that one man with a broken body and no reason to trust chose to. And in doing so, he ended a war that governments couldn't.